I'm going to go to broadcast because we're at the top of the hour.
Cool.
All right.
Exciting.
Hey, it's live.
Hey, let's pretend we haven't been talking for
well, how are you doing today?
All things considered, I'm fine.
Yes.
This is the second to last sparkling water in my house, though, and that is.
I'm honored that you decided to use it during this hour.
I figured I might need it. Yeah. Should be drinking coffee. That would be much more appropriate.
I know. I just grabbed the last of our morning coffee that's still around. So
nice. I have to walk a fine line with that. I can have a cup and a half. And if I have more, I'm like, I could do anything for an hour. And then for the next 6 hours, I'm like, I'm dying.
Right.
So hard.
Well, I can see folks that folks are starting to join us here. Welcome. Yes. We'll let you all have a couple minutes before we get going here. One or two. So in the meantime, we can start the introductions. Is that a good idea to kick it off now? Or should we give people a couple minutes to settle in, grab a cup of coffee?
I think we could do a couple minutes. Do you want to start at 3:03? I'm at 3:01 on my computer, so I don't know.
Sounds good. So again, this is a webinar about email and copywriting and how to approach communicating with your customers. We're going to let folks kind of slide in here and get set up. We'll start in a couple more minutes. So you're at the right place. Thank you. We will get going here soon.
John, what do you have planned for after this? What's the rest of your day like?
What do I have planned? I actually have to switch, and now I get to take care of my kids. So that's my. You probably can hear my kids at some point, or you will in the background. I have 3 kids, so my wife wasn't working this morning, and now I have to watch them, and she's going to do some work. So
nice,
yeah.
Awesome. That's teamwork.
It's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. We're lucky right now because the weather's cooperating. I'm not sure. I'm based out of Portland, Oregon, and this time of year can be either intense rain or it can be like it is right now. So we've got 60-degree temperatures and kids want to be outside. So it's great.
I'm jealous. I walked outside for a second just because I feel like I should. Because I already work from home like you do too, right? So
yeah.
There could be days where you're just like, have I left the house today? So I went out on the porch and I was like, cool, it's summer in New Orleans. It's 90 degrees. Love that.
Wow, 90 degrees. I can only imagine. Well, it's 3:03 here, 1:03, 4:03, 3 after the hour. I think we should get going. So
let's do it.
Woo! Well, thank you again. My name's John Ewalt, and I'm the founder of RoasterTools. I work with a lot of roasters. We help with the sales and the operations, and I talk to people, and I get kind of concerned, obviously, with what's going on, and I try to figure out what could I do to help you all, mitigate the effects of this. We won't be able to do everything ourselves, right? This is a bigger issue than any one of us can handle, but hopefully we can band together, we can share resources, we can find a way to kind of succeed as much as possible. So I wanted to reach out. I reached out to my friend Lianna Patch here and invited her on to do a webinar about increasing your conversions and really communicating with your customers so that they knew how to help you. So Lianna, do you mind just introducing yourself and giving people a little background about who you are?
Yeah. So I'm Lianna Patch. I am a conversion copywriter, which means that everything I write is based on user research. So we're not just pulling pretty words off the sky and putting them on the page. We are actually testing to understand what people need to hear and how to persuade them to do what we want them to do or what might be good for them in a very non-sleazy, non-gross way. And my specialty is working humor into conversion copy. So, humor has all these benefits, right? I won't go into them, but you can build a better relationship. You can decrease anxiety. You can instill trust. You can boost information recall. Okay, I went into all of them. And that's my thing, right? Because I love getting to write funny copy for e-commerce and software brands.
Great. Yeah. And obviously, one of the things that came up, and we were just talking about this before we started recording, is kind of the place in humor, around email. Right now, given everything that's going on with COVID-19 and the coronavirus, one of the things that obviously you specialize in is humor. So how does that relate to here? Like, should we try to be funny or not? Or
Yeah.
um,
So yes, what we were saying, one of my cardinal rules for deciding whether or not to use humor in a piece of copy is what's the worst case scenario for your reader. So if there's any potential of offending someone and you don't want to run that risk, then probably not a good time to use humor. So in this case, it would be if you're going to make a joke about the virus, consider that one of your readers might have someone in their life who's affected by it, whether they're a first responder or actually sick or just, immunocompromised. So it's riskier here. I do think there are still ways to do it, especially if you know your audience really well and you know what's funny with them. And if you do normally write like funnier, punchier, edgier emails, you can probably take more of those risks. But right now I might stray to the side of like earnest and heartfelt and helpful rather than like, plague time, drink some coffee,
Definitely. One of the things that that before we get too far into this, I thought we should do is just take a second to ask you all to give us some context. Like how concerned are you with things right now? What are your major concerns? And hopefully we can kind of weave those into today's webinar.
Yeah.
So if you have, there's chat that I'm going to say hello on, just so that you can see it. And you can respond back either to the group, but this is a good place to chat, to share those ideas, share those concepts of like where are you feeling? How are you feeling right now? What are you worried about?
What do you want to learn about copy? Is it COVID specific messaging and updates, or is it more just, okay, we're proceeding as normally as we can. Let's learn about good copy in general. Because we're here for you.
We do want to make this hour. We recognize that you're all busy. A lot of our lives, like I said, my kids are in the background. You may hear them. I know that we're having to change a lot of things to comply with what's going on. So
yeah, my cats are in the background, and you may hear them, but that's not unusual. Stick their little paws under the door anytime I'm on a video call, like,
come to me.
That's great. No questions, no sentiments, no thoughts. Nobody is thinking anything. We got a bunch of passive lurkers. Love that. Love that for you guys.
Great. Okay.
Emily says, I work on the importing side. I'm hoping to learn any helpful info that I can pass along to my roasters or include in my own communication with customers. Emily, are you looking for like protocol information or like government issued like health stuff, or writing tips or messaging insights? Because I can help with one of those two, and I think you know which one.
While we wait for that as well, for Emily to respond, one of the things that I think that brings up in general is kind of whether our message, given the crisis, given the pandemic that's going on, should our message be, how much are we talking about the overall bigger impact, and how much should we be talking about how it impacts our business? Because there's a balance there. We probably have all received messages from dozens of companies, and we're all starting to kind of blend together. And I guess that's one of my bigger questions is, how do you stand out in now a crowded inbox full of COVID-19 type resources?
Yeah, I think as with any campaign, you want to identify the existing pattern and figure out a way to interrupt it. So, if you're getting tens of emails a day that are like, in these strange times, we value our community more than ever. We'd like to tell you about our updated safety protocols. Like, that is the same message over and over. And the ones that are standing out to me are things that are like, hey, this is really hard, but you already know that. We are a small business and we depend on your revenue. So we're just going to keep trying to do our thing, keep service going, whatever it is, and try to bring some more joy to your world without bugging you. And that's been, I think, the most effective, at least anecdotally, that I've seen so
Mm.
far.
I think that's,
Emily has answered us
yeah.
also. Yeah. Nothing formal, just hoping to improve my communication. It's difficult to be in a sales position when so many people are struggling. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the struggle that we're talking about. Like, my job is to sell, but I don't want to be pushy. And I think one of the best ways to get around that is just to send an honest, short email that says, hey, how can I help you? You know, what are you dealing with? Ask for replies. If you want, if that's the call to action that feels best to you, or you can say, by the way, we're still open. Here's where to take action. You know, work with us or place an order or send an order or whatever it is. Whatever is the most meaningful thing that you can say to people, and the best action you can tie to that will help you get away from like the ickiness of selling at a time that feels bad to sell.
And I think that there's also, you know, as I read through these responses, one of the things that comes up is there's different segments of your audience. There's like, for most of the people we're talking to, there's, if you're a wholesale coffee roaster, you need to talk to your wholesale customer list, which is like the cafes and the retailers and all the people that buy from you. But there's also your direct to consumer list. And those two messages probably need to be broken apart, in my opinion.
Mm.
And what you say to, you know, to your retail audience, in my opinion, should be a very transparent call to action to place an order without being salesy. You know, the benefit's not to pad your coffers, it's to keep your business open, which I think is genuine, and everybody gets it.
Yeah. And it's reassuring, right? Just to get a quick email from someone that you do business with saying, hey, just by the way, we're still open. We're good. If you need us, we're right here. You know, it's nice, because a lot of every other message is like, we're falling apart, but publicly.
and it's obviously it changes the dynamic when you you kind of you step out from like, this company is strong and this company is like, we do this thing, we have a brand, and it becomes a little bit more human if you have to say like, hey, I know we're all struggling, this is a personal, you know, like, it's affecting us as well. I think that those kind of messages are what's going to get through to people, you know. So you know, talk about how, what it means, you know, as a small business, because I think that that's where most of the people that you know, people are coming from. One thing that I wanted to mention and is about these differing communities, you know, these different segments, is talking to your wholesale partners and having a different message for them, that this is an opportunity to build loyalty and to build strength of that, like to strengthen that partnership. And so I assume that a lot of people have already seen the COVID-19 resource that I put together. I just had some feedback from one person that I thought was excellent, which was they were actually sharing a coupon code with their wholesale partners, who then could turn around and offer that to their customers. So you have a cafe, you know, you say, hey, Cafe X, here's your Cafe X coupon. And then you say, we'll give you X dollars. You know, in this case, it was $7 per retail bag that was ordered from the wholesale coffee roaster's website. And so that was a way to share revenue and to distribute this message throughout, because we're all looking for ways to help and to band together. And this seems like a great thing to do. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I love that. I'm seeing some people ask questions in the chat about e-commerce newsletter emails, subject lines, and I have a whole giant presentation that I can start to share, and pick and choose a few pieces of that for y'all if you're interested. So I'm just going to assume that you are, because I can't hear you. And cool. So this is repurposed from a presentation that I did for some 7 to 9 figure e-commerce sellers in January. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. But basically what I was talking about was how to get people to open emails, get them to click through, and also at the beginning, like how to do your research and messaging. And I would say like this is one of the best times you have to get to know your customers better, your retail customers especially. You have a little extra time maybe to send out an email survey and say like, hey, we're going to use this opportunity to improve or fix our messaging or whatever it is. What do you love about us? What could be better? What do you hope that we do with this? And that's all in the same vein of just emailing and asking for a reply. Anytime you open that channel for unstructured feedback, you'll probably get at least a few people writing in and saying like, hey, here's what I want from you. And obviously it's even easier on the e-commerce side because you have more sources of qualitative feedback, which is customers in their own words leaving reviews, getting to you through support chat. And so if you have enough of those, you can start to identify, there it is, patterns and preferences. The same messages will be repeated in different language over and over again, and you'll start to understand what people think is most important about your brand and what they want most from you, so you can match those expectations. And then you can write copy more confidently, knowing that you're not just like pulling something out of your butt, or this guy, here or there. Gross. So that's kind of my like precursor to writing anything, is making sure that I know the audience. And a really helpful rule to keep in mind is the one reader rule. So don't write to your list, whether it's the retail or the customer list. Write to one person on that list. Like pick a name. If you know them, all the better, and write to them and send that email to the whole list, because you'll have written with an actual person in mind.
Do you want to do that to your best customer, or is it like your, like, who would you pick to write that to? Yeah.
Yeah, you're depending on the size of your business. Sometimes all you have to pick from are your best customers, because you only have like 30 people, and that's when I sometimes do interviews instead of surveys. Best customers tend to be more likely to respond, but you might see your data, right? So it's nice to have an intermediary like a copywriter or a messaging strategist to ask questions for you, because they can ask the hard questions like, hey, what are they doing wrong? Or have they ever disappointed you, and how? But it's still valuable to start the conversation, because they will tell you things that you never expected, or put them in ways you never expected.
Good.
And I think just being a brand that reaches out during this time, like, I love that. I don't know when is the right time to show examples of emails from brands that are getting it right at the moment, but I have those to inspire y'all. Let's move past the getting people opted into your list. And John, let me know if anyone in chat is asking questions.
Yeah, I'm definitely monitoring that too. And I guess one thing I saw as you scrolled through, there's coupons. And I feel like right now, one thing that I'll mention out is, that free shipping is this very common call to action right now, where you're like, hey, we have free shipping. But I have seen where free shipping is good for a long period of time. And so I wanted to ask for your opinion about, should we be doing more frequent emails with fewer offers? So like, should I do, hey, we have free shipping through Wednesday versus free shipping through the end of COVID-19? And part of what I'm trying to ask is like, is there FOMO about missing out on the shipping offer that we want to like encourage? And also because things are changing so fast, like we can handle free shipping today, but maybe not in a week.
Yeah. I would say then shorten the window, right? Which does give you a reason to keep emailing. But in general, like, it doesn't matter how often you email as long as you're providing value. So maybe you start with that free shipping offer. That's valuable. You can remind people about it. But if you want to keep from hammering them with the same message over and over, or you're afraid of getting boring or repetitive, what other useful content can you offer them right now? Maybe maybe you do a little research and you find out that some cafes have this really cool like to-go protocol going on, or like, somebody constructed like a cardboard takeout thing, and you link your cafes or your customers to that. I don't know. You're probably deeper in this world than I am.
No, I love it, because I think that there's definitely content that we could be sharing. And in the COVID-19 resource, I talked about, doing a Zoom call where you're making coffee together. I mean, like and I think that Zoom has a free plan that could allow you to do that pretty easily. So there are things out there that you could just be creative, and that's another reason to email.
And yeah, and that was one of the messaging insights we were talking about before we opened up the webinar was you shouldn't feel bad, especially with this product, because this is something that people build rituals and routines around, which we need now more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
So retail customers obviously need it and their customers need it more. So how can you help them help their customers? And you could even write an email with helpful resources for their customers and say, hey, send this on our behalf or whatever. It'll bump up your orders, which will bump up our orders.
Yeah, I
Am
love
I
the
getting these layers correct? Yeah.
yeah, no, you are right. And I think that that's one of the things you mentioned before was like how explicit to be. You could actually create a template, like literally write not only your email, but write the email for your cafes and your wholesale partners to
Yeah.
send on to theirs. Especially if there's that coupon that you're offering.
Yeah, something like, I'm just gonna sort of live write something like, hey, insert sentence about how things are super whack right now. Anyway, since we're busy spinning up new revenue streams or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I instinctively want to make a joke saying like pastry delivery via drone ? We figured you could use these resources or like an email, like John was just saying. This template, whatever. And then you would insert something like maybe tab over and put it in italics so they understand it's a template, like customers, blah, 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 we're still open. Whatever we decide the most important message is here. Here, the protocols we're using. I don't know, I keep saying the word protocol because it sounds official. But like, don't get too bogged down in this because this is the kind of thing we're getting from everyone, right? So what's the most important message you can send? We're still open. Supporting small business is crucial right now.
Yeah, and I was curious about how fast you'd want to go into that. Whether I almost feel like again, when I can't remember how you said it before, but you were like, when everybody's doing X, you want to do A or Z or whatever it might be, right? And so maybe you you move the content about how you're physically dealing with this issue down to the bottom and say, because people may want to look at it, but it's kind of like your it's like your signature at this point. Like everybody kind of assumes that there's data down there, that there's more information. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. Everybody reads the PS in an email, so that's a really good place to put it. And or you can put the most important information in a header. So like up here, not necessarily in your email client's header box, because that may not show up in the actual email body or it might get cut off or whatever. But you could put something up here and just do like quick note. Our emails have changed or whatever, or scroll down for more info on how to order.
Yeah.
Stated health procedures, whatever it is. And I would actually recommend this for your existing emails. If you have like autoresponders or flows going out, double check those because if they hit the wrong way right now, they will hit the wrong way. And so one easy way to not completely shut down that side of your business, but point out that you're aware things are going on, is to add that little header copy that's like, hey, we decided to keep sending these because we think they're important and we want you to feel a sense of normalcy, but just so you know, we're like on our shit and we're taken care of. Sorry for cursing.
No. And that's actually, no, that's completely relevant that where people are going to have autoresponders in that sense, that's definitely probably like e-commerce 201 for a lot of folks, but is around your subscriptions, because you might have emails that go out to your subscription customers automatically through Recharge or Bold or all of these other platforms that you don't see on a daily basis. So those are a great thing to check right now, because they could be sending the wrong message. Or it could be an opportunity for somebody who already buys your coffee at a lower level, but because they're home 24/7 now, they need to double that or they need to increase that. But maybe they need to be reminded that there's an opportunity to change that order. So, um, and and that's actually one thing that we can talk about, like just a one-time order. But there's also, I don't know if there's anything special about a call to action around a long-term relationship. Is there anything that's different about how you couch that or how you promote that? Because is this a time for roasters to push subscriptions and possibly build a long-term customer base off of it?
Subscriptions to the end user, to the end coffee drinker.
Yeah, so like direct to consumer subscriptions, because that's a
Yeah.
place where I see a lot of roasters having success. But assuming that you have the framework in place already to do that, it
Yeah,
seems like it's a good way to promote. Yeah, I don't know.
for sure. Yeah. We'll deliver it right to you. You don't have to, again, you don't have to leave the house. How convenient.
Right.
I actually wrote an email series, an autoresponder email series for a coffee roaster a couple years ago. And it was, wrote two of them. One was around that recurring subscription, and it's based on timing, right? So if they buy a pound of coffee, email them in a couple weeks or 10 days or something and say, hey, you might need to reorder. In the meantime, here's how best to brew it. Here's, what you didn't know about the temperature of the water. Here's what you need to understand about flavor descriptions when people say like caramel tones or whatever it is. Here's what that actually means. And it was, I think, a 5 to 7 email series that ended with saying, in case you haven't restocked, like here, come back and buy again. And that boosted customer lifetime value by like 100% or something like that. Just doubled it. Because people need to be told what to do. Right?
Okay. And
Yeah, sorry, go
so,
on.
no, I was curious. Now, I don't want to go into like tools too heavily, but can you give a couple recommendations of what, if someone wanted to add more emails or use emails around e-commerce? I saw something around Shopify and kind of like what's systems people use for this stuff? Because I think that there could be a lot of questions around that.
Yeah, Klaviyo is the like gold standard for setting up really flexible, testable different email flows. ActiveCampaign also integrates really well. And then if you're in Shopify, like Shopify's own email builder is limited, as y'all know, like unless you are versed in Liquid, which unless you are fluid in Liquid, we're gonna make that joke again. Then you probably need like an add-on app to be able to send more emails and to customize your emails. I don't have a favorite of those. I'm using OmniSend for the e-commerce store that my family's launching, but I can't really say with confidence like I love it.
Cool. Well, that's good. It just gives people some resources. I know that can probably come up afterwards.
Yeah, and it's worth saying, if anyone here doesn't know, every dollar you spend on email marketing and email marketing tools usually brings in on average like $38 of return. So it's worth it. It's your best and most valuable channel. Yeah.
Okay, so can we talk about that? Like, why? What's the difference between that and anything else we're doing?
Because if you have earned someone's trust enough that they gave you their email address, like great job, that's step one. Then you have to get them to open the email. That's the subject line's job, right? That's its only job. Your subject line cannot sell for you. It just has to get your email opened. Then the body copy in your email needs to fulfill the promise that you made to get that person to sign up. So if you can do that, like they look forward to seeing you in their inbox. You've built this one-on-one relationship with them that is treated the same as their emails with their like parents and brother. And, of course they feel more comfortable buying from you because you're
and maybe you're like literally in their house when they're thinking about it. So for these coffee roasters,
yeah.
Can we talk about subject lines? We've kind of talked a little bit about that, but I feel like
that's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. Yes. And Bruce is asking if I have input on plugins that can charge a fee, and I sadly do not. I'm sorry about that.
And Bryce, I depending upon your platform, I definitely have some recommendations. But there's a few out there. Shopify has got it locked down to just 2. Other platforms have many more. But this is in the moment right now, there's a tendency to, there's action and then there's like tooling and like getting set up. And I would be cautious about setting up a whole new platform, a whole new thing on the hope that's going to pay dividends. The strategies that we're talking about today can all be done, from home in your spare hours with just a little bit of sweat equity, right? Let's get in, like, just emailing your customers. You could literally just export that list, throw it into MailChimp or whatever platform you use, and send it out. And I think that that's the better solution, given that we don't know how long this is going to last. But going back to what Lianna just said about the $1 into 38, long term, double down on it. And I think that that's
Yeah.
going to pay dividends.
Yeah. And also, like, your emails don't need to be super fancy and designed and beautiful and templated and like sent through Klaviyo to work. Plain
Yeah.
text emails routinely outperform designed emails across different industries. Also, Bryce, I called you Bruce, and that was because the window was over your name. But I can read your name is Bryce. So sorry about that. Okay, subject lines. Like I just said, and I'm not full screening because I want to be able to skip around from my slides, but hopefully that's okay with y'all. It's a little bigger. Subject lines really just have that one job, right? It's to break that pattern that people are used to seeing in their inbox, and entice them to open the email in a way that doesn't feel scammy. So if you make a promise in the subject line, or you open a curiosity gap, which I'll talk about in a second, then you want to make sure you fulfill that promise or close the gap in the email. So the job is to get your email open. That's all the subject line is supposed to do. So how can you stand out in the inbox on the writing level? One of the easiest ways is to play with the length of your subject line and the casing of it. So send a super short subject line if you normally send long ones like this one. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Simply Safe. It's a home security system. They sent an email just called cherries. I was like, okay, click. What? So this is kind of like incongruous, right? It stands out. It's really weird, and it's very, very short. If you guys are title casing, which is capitalizing the first word of each subject, or each word, capitalizing the first letter of each word in the subject line, there it is. Try lower casing, or sentence casing, or just you write a normal sentence and see what that does. I find that it can often make things sound more conversational and personal, which makes me want to open emails more. Some brands get better results with title casing, so it really depends.
Can I just say that also,
well,
given like the
yeah.
current environment, that personal call to action right now, maybe there's a little bit less formality in your emails, because that's also being, the voice has changed a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about sender name too, because it's not just about subject lines, it's about your sender name. So that was weird. This is an example of playing with length, right? Here's a pun. An e-commerce company sent this to me. I personally love puns. There are so many good coffee puns. Bring a little levity to someone, unless you know that your audience hates puns. And here's a really, really weird one that I love. Jonah Hill had to be hospitalized because he snorted so much fake blood. That's from this sunglass company called William Painter. They're great. And
Awesome.
I always open their emails because they have the most bizarre, specific, either super short or super long subject lines, and they can get away with it. But just look at what you usually send, and if it's kind of like an announcement, and there's no real reason for someone to click through, consider bringing a little bit of curiosity and mystery into it. And that's exactly what the curiosity gap is. And you're like, what? How do I write a curiosity gap? Here's a great one. This brand is called Pillowcase. They make biodegradable phone cases, and they write a lot about sustainability and microplastics. And so there's plastic in what? And I was like, oh God, what is it? Do I use it? You maybe like don't want to scare people at this time. It's like, maybe don't go this direction. But you could do something as simple as 5 tips to brew a better pot of coffee if you're talking to those ends, or ways you should know to, I can't live write subject lines, but ways to keep your to-go business going during the COVID crisis, ways to run a sanitary to-go business, or like virtual tip jars for your baristas, or whatever it is. Again, providing resources, like be open to that, and be a roundup, like just send a roundup of resources to your people, and they will come to see you as a valuable partner and probably buy. There's this effect called the reciprocity effect that humans have, probably apes too, I don't know. But if someone gives you something, even if you know exactly what they're doing and they're gaming you and they just want something in return, you still feel obligated to give them something in return. So
Hmm.
that's the whole thinking behind building value for someone, like helping them genuinely just to help, but knowing they will also be more compelled to help you back. Yeah. Um, I'm just going to keep talking about subject lines because I have a lot of slides about them.
Let's
If
go.
that's
Yeah, I think people want
cool.
it.
Yeah. So we looked at that Jonah Hill subject line. Absurdity and incongruity are two of my favorite tools, like as a practicing comic. Um, weirdness, right? Weirdness is funny and it catches our eye. So like a bunch of words that you wouldn't normally see next to each other, I'm going to open that. This is from a t-shirt company, Trash Panda Art Fraud.
And
The t-shirt is called Boardwalk.
I, I
Go
think
on.
I think there's so many jokes around TP right now, and I don't know if it's
Mm,
appropriate or like the fact that we have. I share this in an email that I sent out to people that we bought all the TP in the world, but coffee was not one of the items that we had a 500% increase, and so it's like these two things, something's gonna
yeah,
like break here, and I feel like there's some jokes that people could make that may go well, but I think it has to be
yeah.
brand, specific.
Well, that's a perfect example of observational humor, right? So
Mm,
making fun of something out in the world that we can both acknowledge, but you're not making fun of you or me, so it feels
right.
like less offensive. Um, the example I always give is Jerry Seinfeld being like, "What's the deal with airplane food?" He points out something that we both realize, like, "Oh, that is weird," or "That is strange," and we can acknowledge and agree on that. But it's not like, "Hey, your face is terrible."
That won't
I have
sell.
written emails like that. Yeah, probably not. You're looking pale and sick today. Try some coffee to perk up. Not that. Don't send that. Oh, and from a visual perspective, we're talking about principles of psychology, but we're also talking about a visual appeal because their inbox lines are all the same, right? You don't just
Mm,
want like uniform subject lines throughout. So length is one way to stand out. And then emoji is another great one. So just a screenshot of my inbox. These brands decided to preface their subject lines with emoji. You can also put them at the end of the line. I would caution against using emoji in the middle of the subject line, especially because when people do that, they tend to replace a word. So you might be tempted to say like how to brew the best coffee cup emoji or like coffee bean emoji. That won't always render and you don't know how it's going to show up in some people's email clients. And then your
mm.
subject line has lost all meaning. So if they click through, it's just be like, where did this person mess up? And not like, oh, I'm interested in this. Um,
That's great.
but yeah, this is a nice way to stand out because they'll go straight from the sender name to that emoji just automatically.
Is it clear that the front, the first thing should be the emoji? Is that always the better placement versus the end, or does it matter?
Nope.
Okay.
Test it, just it's kind of like it follows trends.
Mm,
uh, there was a while when brand fair is still doing this. They'll put like 5 emojis at the end of a subject line. But as I've come to learn, it's not the most accessible for people who are visually impaired and using a screen
um,
reader app. So like, don't use funny text formatting because it reads out loud like a nightmare for anybody who doesn't read their emails just from their phone.
good feedback.
Does that make sense? I have more about accessibility we can talk about, but
That's good
this
to
is a
know.
cool tool. If you guys want to get inspired, I'm going to show you some other emails that people are sending right now. Mail charts is a place you can track email journeys that other brands are sending. It is a tool, but there is a free version where you can follow a few companies and see email journeys on a calendar view or a list view and see how people are changing up what they're sending, which is really fun. Especially if you're starting to get into direct-to-consumer e-commerce, then mail charts is a really cool resource because you can follow brands that are like blazing the trail.
What do you think about that? I mean, should you be signing up for the top 5 biggest brands in your industry and be getting those emails automatically, or where's the rabbit hole and where's like the edge that provides
Yeah.
value?
Yeah, I think as long as you don't blindly do what they're doing just because they're doing it, because you have no idea how it's working for them. But if you
Mm,
sign up for an email series from someone in your industry and you get it and you're like, there's an opportunity here that they missed, or like that's strange, or this feels off, then like you've just identified how you can do better,
Great.
because maybe you know your customer better, or you can segment sooner. But lots of really fun ideas for using email to get inspired, not copy. And like, okay, the flip side of subject lines are the sender names. And you're probably seeing a bunch of unfamiliar names in your inbox right now because everybody is sending emails from a company founder, because they're like, I'm the CEO of this brand and I want you to know that I'm on top of things. And you're like, who are you? But you opened it because it looked like a person. So one, super low bar thing to do, even outside of the coronavirus thing, is to consciously decide whether you're sending from your roaster name, or a person at roaster name, or even something really different every time. And I'm gonna like briefly stop sharing and then show you what I mean when I say that, because there's this e-commerce brand called Shinesty that sends the most bizarre emails, and they're so funny, and they change their sender name every time. So official.statement@ is their COVID email. This is humor in COVID response, and they can get away with it, and they will get a lot of hate mail for this because they always get hate mail. So not everybody wants to do this, but it's hilarious. What we can tell you, our IT guy literally never leaves the house. Any employee showing signs of sickness will be fired. Be advised, Daryl@shinesty.com is no longer active. What we can't offer, toilet paper, but we have a used and photo shoot bidet. Like, we can't give you our Pornhub premium access. It's great. Things that won't be affected, Nickelback concerts. No one goes to those anyway. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Might not be the right fit for your brand. But yeah, that's like all the way to the edge kind of thing. But they send other weird sender names, like your new fave shirt, we messed up, P-flap, how could we, new outfits, St. Patrick. It's just the best. Okay, so sender names are awesome. But in general, yeah, like this is a good sender name, a person's name at the brand. So it's from a person that you recognize, that you signed up for this. Bad is all caps, and also something I did not sign up for. They just enrolled me in the Nordy Club and I can't get out of it. And then really, really bad is no reply, because that immediately is just like slapping your reader in the face, being like, this is a one-way conversation.
And one thing that I would love to get feedback from the community that's on right now is, are you using Square Marketing? Are you using those kind of tools to send emails to your in-cafe audience? And if that's working, because I think that's something that I've suggested. It's something that I put into the COVID-19 response as a tool. But I wonder sometimes when I've never heard from this, I've never heard from this customer before, and suddenly I'm getting an email from them, and that kind of goes to like the subject line. It goes to like the sender. Is that okay, Lianna? Is that okay to have like, just to jump out of the blue and you don't know who this is otherwise?
I think so. As long as like, my concern would be like making your cafe partners or customers feel weird by addressing their customers. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding that setup.
It would be more for those wholesale roasters that also have their own cafes. So if you have like like I'm here in Portland and there's Stumptown cafes everywhere. I'm just picking a brand, and it's like, so they have a wholesale roastery, but then they also have a cafe where there might be a transaction. And so my thought is to dip into that other resource.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's, again, pick one person, and it could be anyone at any cafe. You don't have to meet them. But explaining who you are and why you're emailing as succinctly and friendlily as possible. And just being like, hey, my name's John. You probably haven't heard of me. I usually work behind the scenes, getting Stumptown their coffee. But since they're closed, I figured I might ask, how are you doing with coffee? Do you need any? One of my favorite roasts is this one. It's really great for sipping while panicking or whatever. I can't avoid making jokes. I know I said not to, but I'm gonna I'm gonna advise it.
That's good.
Yeah, but I don't want to encourage anyone to step on toes if that is a concern. Michelle says, not at the moment. I think we should all reach out and just empathize with our wholesale customer situations. Yeah, again, empathize, say, we're here for you. How can we help you?
Yeah. And those are resources, but it's two-way, right? They can provide you with resources, and then you can also provide them with resources. And I think that that's the kind of conversation that that any kind of time where you have a back and forth, that's a win, even if there's not a transaction. It's like,
Yeah.
that's huge.
I would just send a subject line that says, "What do you need from us?" or "What do you need right now?" And send it from your
Mm,
first name, and just write a super short email. It's a famous copywriter called Dean Jackson who popularized what he calls the 9-word email. And he sends a follow-up that says, "Are you still looking for blank?" And it always gets replied. But I think in this case, you could use the 9-word email to say something like, "Hey, Michelle here at Roastery. Um, what's bothering you right now? How can I help you?" Hit reply. Let me know. No wrong answers. Encourage people to just hit reply and start a conversation.
I like it.
Super short, super easy. Here are some fun sender names you can experiment with. Maybe not a toilet, but maybe like unroasted beans, or
Love
I
it.
don't know what it would be. Stack O beans. Yeah, so this is a recap of everything we just talked about sender names and subject lines. And I will actually have a link for y'all to a Google Doc with a recap of some of the things we talked about, and a link to these slides, so you don't have to worry about, taking notes, but I hope you are. Yeah. How's everybody doing? More questions? What should we talk about? I think actually might be a good time to open up to Q&A, huh, John?
Yeah. Looking at the time, we've got 15 minutes before the top of the hour. So what questions do you have? What's our 9-word email here?
Yeah, I hope that we've answered a few as we went on, but maybe there's more. Or if we didn't answer your question earlier and you want to call us out.
Definitely.
People are thinking so hard, I can hear it through the computer.
Just typing.
Yeah.
Oh.
How would you apply these concepts to social media? That's yeah. What were you going to say, John?
So that was one of my questions. I actually have a friend who is a social media crisis strategist. And so I just want to just throw it out there that I could do another one of these in the next couple of days if people are interested, but I don't know if that's different. And I'd love to hear Lianna's response to it. Yeah.
I think you should do it. I would go to that. My biggest thing with social media is, again, being very careful to go through what's scheduled to go out automatically and making sure that there's nothing there that's jarringly offensive at this point in time. Like, it's the same as emails, right? Just don't send something that's like, "Hey, everything's amazing and it's the first day of spring, so here's a discount." I got one of those. Happy St. Patrick's Day, our sale's still going. And I was like, the world is on fire.
You're right. That's great feedback.
Yeah, and I think maybe now is a good time to be more active responding to social media comments. Anytime any brand in any industry is just like, "Hey, wow, this is weird. Let us know what we can do for you." It's a win, and I keep repeating myself. I feel sorry for, being a broken record, but people want to hear from you on social media too.
Definitely. And I think we also, one thing that we've kind of glossed over, but I think it's important to say is, if you look around, people are shopping online. Kind of the premise of this whole conversation is we want to help you do more of that. And so you have a choice. And so like there was a question that Stephen asked, was about like, should our messaging be around, camaraderie, however you say that, I'm sorry, and community, camaraderie, yes, I can't pronounce anything. Or is it just about like our own survival? And I feel like Amazon's hiring 100,000 people to keep up with the demand for people shopping online. There's lots of reasons for that. But the community, the world is kind of sitting at a home purchasing someone else's coffee. It could be that it's just a big box coffee. And I think given those choices, I'd always rather purchase local. I'd always rather purchase, a brand that I have trust with. And so how can we remind them of that option? And I think that that's just, it's not an imposition on them. It's just giving them an option that they may not consider given the chaos that
Yeah.
they're going through. So
I think that distinction, I think that's a false dichotomy. Like those two things are not at odds. You can be invested in community and bringing people together and providing a more comforting self experience of solidarity, like, and reliance on self. You can say, like, it's more, right now it's more widespread for everyone to be like, unite, bring, everything brings us together. I think it would be really funny if a brand like Shinesty rolled out like everyone for themselves, like come and take it, with like toilet paper. But I think there's a marriage of the two where it's like, hey, yeah, everything's pretty dark. Maybe you feel a little alone. You deserve better quality coffee than what you're getting from your grocery store, which is super stale. And by the way, when you buy from us, you're supporting local and you're helping keep us in business. Here's our team. We have like 5 to 10 people on this team. They're obviously like maybe not working now, or here they are in their like hygienic suits or whatever. But you're supporting us. And like, you deserve it, You can drink it alone with your gun if you want.
Someone please go into Unsplash and find a picture of like someone in a spacesuit and put that on, like, and this is our packaging person here who's about to deliver your coffee. Like, to me,
yes,
that's,
I love it.
A little chuckle, a little laugh, I think that's appropriate goes a long way. And and it shows a couple of things. You're still working, you're still packaging, you're still delivering coffee, which when I talk to my customers and the people that are in the community, that's all happening. Like, you all are carrying on this burden. Like, when you look at the notices, the shelter in place bans and everything, you all are still allowed to produce and sell and deliver coffee. And so I think that's like, realize that you're essential. And that's that kind of reframes it in terms of like what value you can provide to community.
And that's another great subject line idea. We're not going to solve this without coffee. So buy some and we can caffeinate our scientists to figure some stuff out.
Definitely.
Creative ways to get more email addresses, Ryan asks. Boy, I have some thoughts. I'm assuming most people are offering discounts right now. You probably saw the slide earlier where I was like, coupons are cool. Good job for at least getting people on your list. That's like the lowest barrier. If you're offering a coupon, great, you're at least getting email addresses. There are good ways and bad ways to do it. I'm gonna show you the bad way first. And from a very nitpicky copywriting perspective, I'll explain why this is bad. This is Glasses USA. They pop something up that says, welcome, we want to give you a 60% off coupon code for your first frame. Send me a coupon, no thanks, I want to pay full price. I can't even, like, there are so many things that are wrong with this, but the most important thing is that it's so wordy because they're talking about themselves. And this is a great test for all of your copy. Like, right now in this crisis, you can probably use the words I and we a little bit more. Because you need to explain what you're doing. But in general, your copy is not about you, it's about your reader. So they could have just said, welcome, get 60% off your first frames. That cuts like half the words out, but instead said, we want to give you a coupon, and it's so obnoxious. And then they say, send me a coupon, and the opt-out is no thanks, I want to pay full price, which is just like, don't make your users feel like turds. So that's not great. Let people opt out and say, like, maybe later, or I need to read more first, or whatever it is that they might be thinking. Join the conversation in your reader's head. And here's a really awesome thing that Birchbox does. So they say, join our email list for first dibs on freebies, offers, and 15% off your first purchase. Apart from that nebulous offers language, this is very specific about what I'm going to get when I join the list. And then look at this. Like, right out of the gate, they're segmenting me. And it's, in the past, we might have seen this segmentation by gender, but now that's a little bit restrictive for most people. So they're saying, I'm interested in beauty or grooming. So they know right away what kinds of emails to send me. And you could do the same thing, especially if you're opening up to direct to consumer. You could have an opt-in that says, hey, we're going to send you whatever specific things we're going to send you when you get on the list. And let us know, are you a retailer or a cafe, or are you just a human person? Because that's going to change the messaging that we send to you. And you get that data right away. So important. Segmented emails convert even better than just blast emails. Please don't blast anyone.
And for coffee, I think that also, like, one of our biggest segments is like, they might be a single origin person that needs like the latest and greatest, most exciting coffee, or they might be a blend, or one other thing I
Yeah.
just want to throw in there is that we haven't talked about packaging and size, but when we promote our products right now, people are going through more coffee at home than ever before, because they are at home. So let's remind them that you probably have some 5-pound bulk bags, and you could probably sell it to them at it doesn't matter about the price. Actually, I don't think it's as much, but
just letting them know that it's there.
Yes. Let's offer them, something that makes sense, that we minimize the shipping, we minimize all those other like kind of add-ons, and make it more likely that they're going to enjoy our coffee. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Ryan was asking about, other opt-ins besides coupons that entice people to get on your list. These are some ideas. I think as roasters, you have this very specific expertise, and there's kind of a stigma for people outside of it, like coffee snobs versus non-coffee snobs. This is an opportunity to defeat that perception, like break down that stigma, and help people understand what kind of coffee they'll like best, what kind of roast they should look for. Do they want a blend, or do they want a single origin? How to brew it. That's the series that I mentioned before. 5 emails about choosing the right brew method, the right temperature, how long to let it steep. Should you mix it with anything, whatever. Or a quiz if you want to go whole hog. Those are really fun. Flavor quizzes especially. Do you prefer candy or chocolate? Do you like savory or sweet? Maybe you can figure out a basic way to steer people to a first product. And then they're more inclined to buy because they feel like the recommendation was tailored to them. And then you can send follow-up emails with related products. So much opportunity when you start with research.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we're definitely, it's been an action-packed hour here. Lianna,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us, for teaching us all about email and copy. Where can people hear more about you and kind of learn more about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
They can find me at punchlinecopy.com or at Punchline Copy on Twitter, where I have been tweeting way too much. And how should I get y'all the link to this resource list that we sort of put together?
That's a good question. I will follow up with a separate email that has the link to download this, the video, to watch the video. So that'll contain the information. I'll get it from Lianna and then share that. So
cool. And I'm like fleshing out that little email that I wrote with y'all. Cool. Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for having me, John. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, everybody, stay safe and, good luck. And, if there's anything else you can think of, I heard some interest in doing a social media messaging. So I will reach out to my friend. One thing that's pretty great is if you could follow up after this or in the chat, if you would do it over the weekend, because she does actually have a 9-to-5 job doing crisis media management for a company.
Yes, she's busy. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's busy. So if the weekend's an option, that'd be great to know. So appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Allison. Thanks, Bryce. Thanks, Ryan, Steven, Stephen. Cool.
Thanks, everybody. Ended. Okay. I'll wait for everyone to see if there's any, I want to see open the weekend. Okay. I'm going to give a second just because I am curious.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
So that was the awkward, like, yes, we are going to go. And then we're not.
Yeah. So here we still are. Probably going to get a snack after this. Maybe go for a bike ride.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
There's a lot of stuff that I should be doing instead, but I think my brain needs air.
That's a good idea.
Get some coffee. I can't, Emily. I can't drink coffee until 11 a.m. Otherwise, I'm up all night.
Oh. Decaf.
But isn't decaf like, doesn't it destroy all the taste? I feel like this is a controversial question to open up in the last minute.
Emily's going to go to town on this one, I think.
I love it. Great. I've been told many bad things about it. I used to drink it.
Yeah.
Coffee.
So there's definitely, I've had great decaf and,
okay.
Yeah, there's a couple water processing companies and, it's good.
Amazing. Thanks, guys. I love that.
Woohoo.
Non-solvent method for decaffeinating unroasted coffee beans. Okay, cool. Thanks, Emily.
Well, great. Folks, I will follow up with, again, the links, more information about how to get in contact with Lianna if you have any questions. And then I will reach out to my friend and see if we can make it work for the next couple of days to do a social media. So look for that email. Again, reach out if you have any questions or if there's any way that we can help. I really appreciate the time, and stay healthy, everybody. So peace.